Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a human capital strategist, board certified executive coach, and of course, USA Today best-selling author, no other than Miss Cynthia Bentzen-Mercer.
Yes, thank you, Daniel. So good to see you again.
Yes, welcome to Book 101, Miss Cynthia. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
I would love to. So I spent 30 plus years in corporate America in the C-suite, and now I have the privilege and honor of working with women and men, high performing, high achieving individuals that are looking to identify their professional next aspirational goal and helping them to reach that. And I work with CEOs and organizations to find and retain top talent.
Yes, and congratulations, Miss Cynthia, for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world through your books, through your advocacy, through your business. And let's talk about human capital investment. Why is framing talent development as a strategic investment rather than just a cost or HR function crucial for gaining a true competitive edge in today's market?
Yeah, I think that so often leaders and CEOs, traditionally we think about the people that serve in the organization as an expense, and of course they are, but there's also an expense in bricks and mortar, an expense in technology, et cetera. The one appreciating asset is human capital when you have the right people in the right spots. And so, as we flip the narrative and really begin to think about the people and the human capital they bring to our business every day, to the extent that we can make certain that we are building that with the same rigor as we would a financial portfolio, we start to yield competitive advantage because no one else is doing it quite like that, or very few. And we retain these incredible, talented people, which allows us to both expand and grow, but also be agile when times are difficult.
How does your six-step strategy fundamentally differ from conventional talent management or training programs?
So the six step strategy, it's a financial model. So I basically took a framework that's used in investment funds. How do you think about evaluating your financial portfolio? How do you think about diversifying your portfolio? How do you rebalance a portfolio when perhaps it's not performing? If we take that same rigor and discipline and apply that to how we think about the human capital that individuals are showing up with every day, it gives us a more strategic lens in which we're doing that through. And so it moves us from trying to make everybody good at everything and instead really looking at the uniqueness that each person brings and then going double down in terms of investing in their strengths and retaining those human capital assets.
Miss Cynthia or Dr. Cynthia, can you share a compelling example, perhaps from research or a case study, demonstrating how focused human capital investment strategy directly translated into measurable competitive advantage for an organization?
Yeah, one of the examples that I articulate in the book is that there is practical evidence about high performing individuals, and everyone can be high performing. Let me be very clear. Everyone has talent. The question is talent for what? When we identify using predictive, validated instruments, not traditional, non predictive tools, to ensure that we have the right person aligned with the role, we know through data and evidence that individuals can produce or perform at 2 to 3 times greater than somebody with average talent for the same position. So it really becomes a force multiplier when you get that person that's so directly aligned with the attributes that are necessary to be successful. They're going to outperform in margin. And as well, as I said earlier, when you have to scale back, you don't have to let go, hopefully, anyone, but as many people, because you can contract because you aren't overstaffed to begin with. You're using that same individual that can flex to 2.5 times more than their counterpart that doesn't have the same talent for the role.
How do you define and identify potential within organization in a way that's actionable and avoids bias, going beyond just current performance or pedigree?
Yeah. So, one of the things that unfortunately a lot of organizations do, I would say the vast majority, is we rely on a lot of old mechanisms or filters to decide if we think somebody has potential. So we look at things like years of experience, or maybe we don't say it out loud, but we consider age. That person may be too young to have enough experience, or that person may be too mature to have the energy. We make these assumptions based on information that has very limited predictive validity that's been proven over and over in the Hunter and Hunter model and other research based evidence. So, what I recommend and what we recommend through the human capital investment strategy is that you look at potential through a predictive instrument. There are many out there. It's important that you choose one that is scalable, that the organization meets your um, culture, that it's priced competitively for what you're willing to spend. But these predictive tools, like Predictive Index or Talent Plus, give you information about where does that individual's natural strengths and talents lie, the non-teachables. And then we know what kind of potential we're dealing with and how much we can continue to create exponential success, rather than assuming that because someone is a great bedside nurse, they're naturally going to be a great leader. We know that that isn't always the case. Sometimes it is, but past performance is not a great predictor of potential for a new role.
What are the tangibles, business risks, or missed opportunities organizations face if they don't adopt our strategic approach to investing in their human capital?
Daniel, I think there's two things. One is that is when you have very high attrition, right? So when you don't have people well aligned, the difference between a financial um, portfolio is that your financial assets can't walk. Human capital can decide, I don't feel invested in. I don't feel that I'm well aligned to the role. I don't feel that I'm getting enough what I need from my boss. Human capital, people can take their human capital and choose to take it elsewhere. So the big difference is when you're not making those investments, when you're not being mindful of the importance of this, is attrition. People leave and go someplace else. They go to your competitor with their big talent and all of their human capital. So that's number one. The second thing that is a risk is you risk diversification. Because what happens is when we use traditional methods solely, we tend to hire more people that look and think a lot like us. We don't look beyond what's right in front of us. And we're looking at arbitrary measures that not everyone is going to comply with. So if I have a job advertisement for a Fortune 500 company, a CEO position, and you have to have gone to an Ivy League school, you have to have been in a C suite role for 10 to 15 years in the tech industry, right? We've just shrunk the pool down to predominantly white men. Where if we say, let's use validated predictive criteria, we can now widen the pool because we know that that 10 to 15 years of experience on its own does not necessarily predict future performance. And so we can start to take away some of the arbitrary criteria, which does two things. It diversifies our talent portfolio. And it also, we know through study after study, leads to greater information, greater innovation, greater collaboration, and frankly, stronger bottom line results.
Very well said, Dr. Cynthia. Very well said. Beautifully articulated. What are the critical questions leaders must ask to accurately diagnose their current human capital state and ensure alignment with the specific business goals before investing?
Mm. So, one of the very early things I talk about in human capital investment strategy is to do a portfolio evaluation. And you literally do that evaluation or assessment person by person. And you're looking at two things. On the y axis, you're looking at performance based on skill, knowledge, demonstrated, measurable results, things quantitatively that you would be measuring to assess performance. On the x axis, you're looking at natural talent. You're looking at the non teachables. Does the job require you to be creative or strategic or detail oriented? The things that we can't teach, but we can develop. And so, with that matrix, we're really looking for who in your human capital portfolio have strong performance and strong natural talent for the current role they're who on your in your portfolio has maybe their performance isn't quite up yet to their potential because they're new in the role or they haven't had the time in the job. That's your high potential, the people that have the talent to do great things, but they still need more seasoning, more time. And then there's the folks that they're performing in spite of the fact that maybe they don't have as much natural potential for the role. Those are the ones we really have to question. Are they blocking someone else? Are they a role player where they're serving a really important role? What is the nature of that performance? And then, of course, that bottom left is not demonstrating talent for role, not performing, and that's where we have to make the difficult decision to have a compassionate bus stop or part ways with those individuals, just as you would if you had a regularly underperforming financial asset.
Miss Cynthia or Dr. Cynthia, as a human capital strategies board certified executive coach and US Today best-selling author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
What are my short and long term goals?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
I love this question, Daniel. That's a good one. I would tell you that my short term goal, which I started to make some progress on, is launching my first podcast. So,
Yes.
yes, I'm excited about that. It's going to be focused on high performing, ambitious professional women and leaders that love and support them and want to hire more like them. And so, name to be determined, but more to come. I'll keep you posted. But my short term goal is to launch my first podcast. Long term goal is really I'm on a movement. I want more and more women in particular to see the value in their worth and their potential and to invest in themselves. And I want more and more leaders and CEOs to understand that performance and meritocracy are not mutually exclusive. You can have both, and by the way, be incredibly profitable in the meantime. So, this is not necessarily an altruistic goal for CEOs, it's really a factor of a business imperative in a competitive environment.
Good luck to your goals, Dr. Cynthia. And please do come over and let's talk about your upcoming podcast. And let's empower people all over the world through podcasting. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Mm. My Greatest piece of advice to every professional, ambitious person that has goals is don't put them off. Start working on your future today. Not when the kids go to school, not when they graduate college, not when your partner gets their dream job. Start working on your future today. And my advice for every leader out there is to start working on her future today. The women
Yes.
that are on your teams and serving your organizations can be some of your highest performing, dedicated talent, and they may not always raise their hand. So it takes initiative to invite the conversation.
Yes, people, let's empower women all over the world. They deserve it to be equal in everything. What makes your 6 step framework uniquely powerful compared to other models or philosophies for talent development and human capital management?
The biggest differentiator, and I did a lot of research of other models that are out there. I intentionally used a financial framework for two reasons. One, I felt that it would speak the language of business and be relevant to business leaders. It would make sense to business leaders when you use a metaphor or a framework that has a financial um, uh, connotation. What I think makes human capital investment strategy even more unique is the focus on predictive validity, is the focus on we cannot keep doing what we've been doing for decades and expect a different outcome. And if you look at the data of where the workforce is going, if you look at data around where AI is taking us and where technology is taking us, every leader is going to have to get more innovative around where they're finding talent, where they're sourcing talent, and where they are employing talent. It's going to get more and more unique and challenging, and old traditional methods are not going to serve leaders in the future. So for me, this is really a getting out ahead of and really having an opportunity to have that competitive advantage because so many aren't thinking this way, that for those innovative leaders and CEOs that are willing to take the leap and focus on evidence and science rather than solely their gut, they're going to see it in the bottom line.
Dr. Cynthia, how does this strategic approach to human capital investment position organizations to thrive amidst ongoing disruptions like AI, remote or hybrid work, and shifting skill demands?
That's one of the core concepts is because again the traditional models don't work, and where they're working still they won't work for long. What we know is for so long people were selected based on skills and knowledge. We can teach skills and knowledge. We can teach someone to memorize something and to understand those things. We can demonstrate and practice and teach skills. AI and technology and all of the world that we're in today really takes a lot of that out of the equation. A lot of the skills and a lot of the knowledge is being done through technology. Well, what does that leave? That leaves natural talent. That leaves the things that we can't teach. It leaves the human in humanity around what we're going to need to bring problem solving, compassion, um, conceptualization, a different degree of creativity that has a layer of authenticity. Those are the things that traditionally we've not hired for, um, but are the greatest competitive advantage and will be even more so as technology begins to do most of the knowledge and skills.
Dr. Cynthia, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in each fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, in my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in fourth season, as well as my movie 101 review and music 101 and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Dr. Cynthia, if leaders could take just one immediate action after reading your book to start shifting towards a true human capital investment strategy, what would you recommend it be?
I would recommend they do a very deep, introspective review of what are their organizational goals and evaluating their current human capital portfolio in a quantitative and qualitative way so that they truly are not using gut as the sole measuring stick and that they are embedding science and validated assessments into their process.
Validated indeed, Dr. Cynthia Benson-Mercer. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your advocacy, or your business itself?
Yes, I would love to hear from you. So you can reach me at uh, Cynthia BensonMercer.com. That's CynthiaBensonMercer.com. You can book a free strategy session for a pitching call or a consultation. And you can also order a pre sale copy of Human Capital Investment Strategy. If you order in the pre sale, $2 will go to Able Light, a wonderful nonprofit organization that supports individuals with developmental disabilities. For every book sold, I am personally donating $2 to Able Light. Or you can pick up a copy of Now Near Next, my first book, which is targeted to women who are looking for their aspirational professional next.
Yes, people, let's support Dr. Cynthia Benson Mercer because if you support her, more empowering advocacy to come, more empowering books to come, and for sure, more and more empowering episode of the upcoming podcast itself. So, Miss Cynthia or Dr. Cynthia, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. It was a pleasure.
More to come, people. See you soon.